What's good? It's your girl, Taquisha Jones, aka Killer Queen T, aka Blackout T, aka where is the upper half of my body? Oh my God, girl, sit the fuck down. We can't see you. Is this how you gonna make your VTO from now out? It is not. It is your girl. Did you miss me? You like, bitch, you ain't went nowhere. Don't worry. I know you're looking at the cover behind me. It was cold on the couch. Don't worry. Don't pay attention to the guts. Ooh. Ooh, that cover. What a little cover. A lot of covers over it. It's not. Anyway, we is doing a little like press. We is almost out of the book. It is, as we get close to the end, I'm like, was it a good book? Yes. Will the Little Light Prince have a happy ending? We don't know. It's not looking like it because according to his godmother, he would never be like a regular little boy. And I know y'all like, Squeeze, why are you still reading the story if he's not going to ever be like a little regular boy? If he never going to be regular. If he never going to be regular. Well, maybe some good shit going to pop off. Maybe he going to become a king. He can still become a king because he is a prince at this moment. I mean, his seat has been stolen from him. His parents are dead. And he lives in a... Shit, it's dark. It's dark. Chapter 7. The darkness. I just made the title up, y'all, if y'all want to know. It just says, it literally just says chapter 7. There is no title. I made it up. Happy as a king. How far kings are happy, I cannot say. No more than could Prince Dorla, though he had once been a king himself. But he remembered nothing about it. And there was nobody to tell him, except his nurse, who had been forbidden upon pain of death to let him know anything about his dead parents, or the king, his uncle, or indeed any part of his own history. Damn. Sometimes he speculated about himself, whether he had a father and a mother as other little boys had, what they had been like, and why he had never seen them. But knowing nothing about them, he did not miss them, only once or twice, reading pretty stories about little children and their mothers who helped them when they were in difficulty and comfort them when they were sick. He, feeling ill and dull and lonely, wondered what would become of his mother and why she never came to see him. Then in his history lessons, of course, he read about kings and princes and the governments of different countries and the events that happened there. And though he but faintly took in all this, still he did not take it in a little, and worried his young brain about it, and perplexed his nurse with questions, to which she returned sharp and mysterious answers, which only set him thinking the more. He had plenty of time for thinking. After his last journey in a traveling cloak, the journey which had given him so much pain, his desire to see the world somehow faded away. I understand. Shit, you just found out you ain't gonna never be a regular boy. You ain't never gonna run and play. Bombshell. I mean, he had been told it, but it's like, when you finally know, bombshell, you ain't expecting that. He like, I was told, but I didn't know how serious it was. I knew she shook her head, so I figured it was painful. But now that I know, it's like, damn. He contented himself with reading his books and looking out the tower windows and listening to his beloved little lark, which had come home with him that day and had never left him again. True, it kept out of the way, and though his nurse sometimes dimly heard it and said, "What is that horrid noise outside?" she never got the faintest chance of making it into a lark pie. Prince Dorla had his pet all to himself, and though he seldom saw it, he knew it was near him, and he caught consistently at odd hours of the day, and even in the night, fragments of this delicious song. All during the winter, so far as there ever was any difference between summer and winter in Hopeless Tower, the little bird cheered and amused him. He scarcely needed anything more, not even his traveling cloak, which lay bundled up unnoticed in a corner, tied up in its innumerable knots, nor did his godmother come near him. It seemed as if she had given these treasures and left him alone, to use them or lose them, apply them or misapply them, according to his own choice. That is all we can do with children when they grow into big children, old enough to distinguish between right and wrong, and too old to be forced to do either. Prince Dorla was now quite a big boy, not tall, alas. He never could be that, with his poor little shrunken legs, which were of no use, only encumbrance. But he was stout and strong, with great sturdy shoulders and muscular arms, upon which he could swing himself about almost like a monkey, as if in comparison for his useless lower limbs, nature had given to these extra strength and activity. His face, too, was very handsome. It was thinner, firmer, more manly, but still the sweet face of his childhood, his mother's own face. How his mother would have liked to look at him, perhaps she did, who knows. But the boy was not a stupid boy either. He could learn almost anything he chose, and he did choose, which was more than half the battle. He never gave up his lessons till he had learned them all. Never thought it a punishment that he had to work it out at them, and that they cost him a deal of trouble sometimes. But thought he, man work, and it must be a grand to be a man. A prince too, and I fancy princes work harder than anyone, except kings. The princes I read about generally turn into kings. I wondered, the boy was always wondering. Nurse, and one day he startled her with a certain question. Tell me, shall I ever be a king? Oh, I told you I was supposed to get Josie up in this joint. He just asked, will he ever be a king? The woman stood, perplexed beyond expression. So long a time had passed by since her crime, if it were a crime, and her sentence that she now seldom thought of either. Even her punishment, to be shut up for life in hopeless tower, she had gradually got used to. Used also to the little lame prince, her change, whom at first she had hated, though she carefully did everything to keep him alive, since upon him her own life hung. But latterly she had ceased to hate him, and in a sort of way almost loved him, at least enough to be sorry for him, an innocent child, imprisoned here till he grew into an old man and become a dull, worn-out creature like herself. Sometimes watching him, she felt more sorry for him than even for herself. And then, seeing she looked a little less miserable and ugly woman, he did not shrink from her as usual. He did not now. Nurse, dear nurse, said he, I don't mean to vex you, but tell me, what is a king? Shall I ever be one? Oh, baby! Oh, he don't even know. It's all been stolen from him. Criminals, masterminds. Oh. When she began to think less of herself and more of the child, the woman's courage increased. The idea came to her, what harm would it be, even if he did know of his own history? Perhaps he ought to know it, for there had been various ups and downs, revolutions and restorations in no man's land, as in most other countries. Something might happen, who could tell? Changes might occur. Possibly a crown would even yet be set upon those pretty fair curls, which she began to think prettier than ever when she saw the imaginary cross out upon them. She sat down, considering whether her oath never to say a word to Prince Dorla about himself would be broken if she were to take a pencil and write what was to be told. A mere quibble. A mean, miserable quibble. But then she was a miserable woman, more to be pitied than scorned. After long doubt and with great trepidation, she put her fingers to her lip and, taking the prince's slate with a sponge tied to it, ready to rub out the writing the minute, she wrote, "You are a king." We want to tell our boy his history. Y'all ready? Prince Dorla startled. His face grew pale and then flushed all over. He held himself erect. Lame as he was, anybody could see he was born to be a king. Hush, said the nurse as he began to speak, and then terribly frightened all the while. People who have done wrong always frightened. She wrote down in a few hurried sentences his history. How his parents had died, his uncle had stolen his throne and sent him to end his days in his lonely tower. I too, added she, bursting into tears, unless indeed you could get out into the world and fight for your rights like a man, and fight for me too also, my prince, that I may not die in this desolate place. Poor old nurse, said the boy compassionately. For somehow, boy as he was, when he heard he was born to be a king, he felt like a man, like a king, who could afford to be tender because he was strong. He scarcely slept that night, and even though he heard his little lark singing in the sunrise, he barely listened to it. Things more serious and important had taken possession of his mind. Suppose he thought, I would do as she says and go out in the world, no matter how it hurts me. The world of people, active people, as active as that boy I saw. They might only laugh at me, poor helpless creature that I am. But still I might show them I could do something. At any rate, I might go and see if there were anything for me to do. Godmother, help me! It was so long since he had asked for her help that he hardly surprised when he got no answer. Only the little lark outside the window sang louder and louder, and the sun rose, flooding the room with light. Why does the lark seem like it's supposed to be the godmother? On some petty shit. I'm just saying. I don't know. Prince's daughter sprung out of bed and began dressing himself, which was hard work, for he was not used to it. He had always been accustomed to depending upon his nurse for everything. But now, I must now learn to be independent, thought he. Fancy a king being dressed like a baby. So he did the best he could, awkwardly but cheerfully. And then he leaped to the corner where lay his traveling cloak, untied it as before, and watched it unroll itself, which he did rapidly, with a hearty good will, as if tired of idleness. So was Prince Darlar, felt as if he were. He jumped into the middle of it, said his charm, and was out through the skylight immediately. Goodbye, pretty lark, he shouted, as he passed it on the wing, still wobbling his call to the newly risen sun. You have given me my pleasure, my delight. Now I must go and work. Sing to old nurse till I come back again. Perhaps she'll hear you, perhaps she won't, but it would do her good all the same. Goodbye. But as the cloak hung irresistible in air, he suddenly remembered that he had not determined where to go. Indeed, he did not know, and there was no one to tell him. Godmother, he cried, and much perplexedly, you know what I want. At least I hope you do, for I hardly do myself. Take me where I ought to go. Show me wherever I ought to see. Never mind what I like to see. As a sudden idea came into his mind that he may see many painful and disagreeable things, but this journey was not for pleasure as before. He was not a baby now, to do nothing but play. Big boys do not always play, and men neither, they work. Thus Prince Darlar knew, though very little more, as the cloak started off, traveling faster than he had ever known it to do, through skyland and cloudland, over freezing mountaintops and desolate stretches of forest, and smiling cultivated plains, and great lakes that seemed to him almost as shoreless as a sea. He was often rather frightened, but he crouched down, silent and quiet, which was the use of making a fuss, and wrapped himself up in his bearskin. He waited for what was about to happen. After some time, he heard a murmur in the distance, increasing more and more, till it grew like the hum of a gigantic hive of bees. And stretching his chin over the rim of his cloak, Prince Darlar saw, far, far below him, yet with his gold spectacles and silver ears on, he could distinctly hear and see. What? Most of us have some time of other visit a great metropolis, have wandered through its network of streets, lost itself in crowds of people, looked up at its tall rows of houses, its grand public buildings, churches and squares. Also, perhaps we have peeped into its miserable little black alleys, where dirty children play in gutters all day and half the night. Even young boys go about picking pockets, which nobody's to tell them is wrong except the policeman, and he simply takes them off to prison. And all this wretchedness is close behind the garter, like the two sides of a leaf of a book. An awful sight in a large city, seen anyhow from anywhere. But suppose you were to see it from the upper air, where with your eyes and ears open, you could take in everything at once. What would it look like? How would you feel about it? I hardly know myself. Do you? Prince Darlar had need to be a king, that is, a boy with a kingly nature, to be able to stand such a sight without being utterly overcome. But he was very much bewildered. As a blind person who was suddenly made to see. He glanced down on the city below him and then put his hand over his eyes. I can't bear to look at it. It is so beautiful, so dreadful, and I don't understand it, not one bit. There is no one to tell me about it. I wish I had someone to speak to. Do you? Then pray speak to me. I was always considered good at conversation. The voice that squeaked out this reply was an excellent imitation of a human one, though it came only from a bird. No lark this time, however, but a great black and white creature that flew into the cloak and began walking round around the edge of it with dignified stride, one foot before the other, like an unfeathered beak you can name. I haven't the honor of your acquaintance, sir, said the boy politely. Ma'am, if you please, I am a mother bird, and my name is Meg. And I should be happy to tell you everything you want to know, for I know a great deal, and I enjoy talking. My family is of great iniquity. We have built in this palace for hundreds, that is to say dozens of years. I am intimately acquainted with the king and the queen and the little prince and princesses. Also the maids of honor and all the inhabitants of the city. I talk a great deal, but I always talk sense, and I dare say I should be exceedingly useful to a poor little ignorant boy like you. I am a prince, said the other gently. All right, and I am a magpie. You will find me a most respectable bird. I have no doubt of it, was the polite answer, though he thought in his own mind that Mag must have a pretty good opinion of herself. But she was a lady and a stranger, so of course he was civil to her. She settled herself at his elbow and began to chatter away, pointing out with her skinny claw, while she balanced herself on the other, every object of interest, evidently believing, as no doubt all inhabitants did, that there was no capital in the world like the great metropolis of no man's land. Oh, he home, people! I have not seen it, and therefore it cannot be described. So we would just take it up on trust, and suppose it to be like every other fine city, the finest city that ever was built. Mag said so. And of course she knew. Nevertheless, there were a few things in it which surprised Prince Dola, and as he had said, he could not understand them at all. One, half the people seemed so happy and busy, hurrying up and down the full streets or driving lazily along the parks in their grand characters, while the other half was so wretched and miserable. Can't the world be made a little more equal? I would try to do if I were king. But you're not the king, only a little goose of a boy, returned the magpie loftily. And I'm here not to explain things, only to show them. Should I show you the royal palace? It was a very magnificent palace. It had terraces and gardens, battlements and towers. It extended over acres of land, of ground, and had in it rooms enough to accommodate half the city. Its windows looked in all directions, but none of them had any particular view, except a small one, high up toward the roof, which looked out on the beautiful mountains. But since the queen died, there it had been closed, boarded up indeed, the magpie said. It was so little and inconvenient that no one cares to live in it. Besides the lower apartments, which had no view, were magnificent and worthy of being inhabited by the king. I should like to see the king, said Prince Dola. No! Oh! Kay, I don't know if you should be going to see the king right now. I think that you should just go do something else and not see the king. I don't think he should go see the king. Don't he understand? Didn't his nurse tell him that his uncle took the... Well, yeah, she told him. But, oh no, wait. He shouldn't do that. I want to apologize. I'm going to take this moment if you are still here and apologize for what I fucked up. And if you wanna take this moment and unsubscribe from my channel and leave me a hate and let me know in the comments how I fucked up. And if you don't know, then you should, fucking like this video because I fucked up and I was well enough submitted. Dear God, how can I touch you? One day, as Jesus was walking, a great crowd of people gathered around him. They wanted to see this man who had healed so many people and to hear what he had to say. In the middle of his big crowd was a woman who had been sick for 12 years and was unable to find a cure. She said to herself, I know if I could just touch Jesus' garment, I would be healed. She had made up her mind. She was going to touch him. She pushed her way right through that crowd of people. When she got near Jesus, she stretched out her hand and she touched the hem of his garment. So I know she really did it. She popped off that hand and touched that mug. In the big crowd, a lot of people were close to him. Suddenly, Jesus stopped and turned to the crowd and said, someone touched my garment. So right away, the woman came to Jesus and said, "It was me, Jesus. I touched your garment." Then Jesus says to the woman, "Now you are healed because you believed and had great faith. Now go in peace." Dear God, yes, I can touch you with my faith. My kid not here, and I thought about it. I made videos without him. Y'all already gonna feel sorry about that. So I gotta at least include books for him. Y'all know my baby, he loves his God, and he wants y'all to be loving him, God, his God too. God gave us Christmas. Ooh, I'm loving the drum winds. Y'all see that? I'm loving it. Loving it. Mama, little cub asked one night, "Who invented Christmas? Was it Santa?" "No," Mama Bear said. "God invented Christmas. God gave us Christmas." "Is God more important than Santa?" "Oh, yes, much more important," Mama said with a smile. The next morning, little cub sleepily crammed into her lap. "Can we go find Santa, Mama?" He lives around here somewhere, I think." "Santa is hard to find," said Mama. "But we can go find God. God is everywhere." That bear love, she said, "Look, we can't find Santa, but God, we can find him." "Yahoo!" cried little cub. "I didn't know we could find God." "Oh, yes," Mama said. "We can always find God." Little cub looked over her shoulder and whispered, "Can we leave him at home?" "Can we leave them at home?" "Yes, Papa will watch the little ones. You and I could go along." "Oh, well, we will go find God. I will see how he gave us Christmas." "Yes, little cub, you should see how God gave us Christmas." Look at it. The next morning, little cub and Mama filled their packs, kissed their family goodbye, and set off to find God and see how he gave them Christmas. They walked to the top of one mountain. So I see the pictures. And down the next. Having fun. See some Oscars. And up another mountain where they set up camp. Little Club was so close, was so tired that she went right to sleep. But Mama nudged her while it was still dark. "Mama, why are you waking me up?" "Because it's God, little cub. Come and see." Police is out. I almost made it before they came out, but it's okay. A little sirens at the end. God came into the picture and the police came. "What is that?" Little Club asked in wonder as she watched the dancing lights in the sky. "That is God at work, little Club. He sent his only son as a baby so that we would know light came from dark. Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is how God gave us Christmas." And the police, apparently. The next day, they arrived at a huge lake. All at once, with a mighty roar, a chunk of ice cut away from the cliff and fell into the sea. "What is that?" Little Cub asked, covering her ears and leaning into Mama. "That is God, little Cub. He's so powerful, he can command the water to freeze and the glacier to melt. He is mightier than any king on earth. And because he is all-powerful, he made Jesus king of all kings." "But Jesus was just a baby. How could he be a king?" "All kings begin as babies. God knew we would need someone we could touch and see and smell." Mama paused to sniff little Cub's neck, making her giggle, to understand just how much he loved each of us. Mama awoke little Cub again before the cane come up. She pointed to the east at a star that changed from green to red to green again and shouted out at many points. Is it God again?" Little Cub asked, rubbing her eyes. "Yes, Jesus is called the bright morning star. He is always with us, and he first came when God gave us Christmas." Damn, they getting closer. I'm reading about God, Popo. No? That ain't make you want to leave what? Leave weight, make haste? It's not in the Bible, y'all. That's not a verse. So don't think I was trying to quote the Bible, though. I'm just trying to, It's like the wind wants to be louder than the police sirens. You literally don't understand. Wait, no. All right, when calmed down, police went away. I'm back. Yes, Jesus. Okay, we know he the morning star. He came, and he first came when God gave us Christmas. I showed y'all the picture. But what about Santa? Little Club said. But what about Santa? Little Club asked. Did God give us Santa? Santa Claus reminds us about many good things like generosity and care. But it's God and Jesus that we celebrate most come Christmas. We always want to thank God for giving us Christmas. There ain't no Santa. You heard that? You heard it. It wasn't me. I didn't say it. Jesus did. And God, they said it. On the way home, Mama Bear stopped by a tiny flower peeking up from the hard, frozen ground. Oh, you are too early, little flower, she said. Little cub, Jesus is like this flower. God in our world, living where you wouldn't expect him, surprising us. Christmas is a lot about surprises. Like presents. Yes, Jesus is the best present of all. And God would have given us that present, even if only for you. Only for me? Only for you, little cub. God gave you Christmas. All right, God gave us Christmas. I love it. Mama and little cub came up on the church, glowing with warm light. Soft voices reached after them singing. What they singing, Mama? About the night God first gave us Christmas, when Jesus was born. Tomorrow is Christmas Day. Make sure I get that picture. Ooh, nice long. Ooh, love it. I was like, love it. Would Jesus have come for mean old Maggie the moose or grumpy old Frankie the fox? Little cub whispered. Maggie, Frankie, any of us. Jesus is a present for everyone. Grumpy or happy, mean or kind. Jesus gave all us Christmas. Y'all see the baby, the Mary, Jesus. God, Jesus in the crate. Them looking. I'm like, see it? Little cub was glad to be back at home that night in her cozy bed. Thanks for showing me God, Mama. This isn't anything I'd rather do, sweet child, she said with a kiss. Night, night. Little cub went to sleep and dreamed of bright stars and northern lights, of a king born as a tiny baby, angels singing over him. Come on now, tell me that ain't cute. Tell me that ain't cute. Even if that's like, oh, so happy. And woke up to Christmas. Yahoo! She cried. God gave us Christmas again. Subscribe, leave a like, drop a comment, come back, go away. No, don't go away. I got all these videos. Find another one. And down there, underneath my face, underneath this video, right here. There should be another video, another face of me, wearing something else, doing something else, talking about something else, reading something else. Find me, do me a favor, click that video, watch it, please. I bet.